This all comes from another podcast I'm borrowing from, Reply All, which our friend that does podcasts around here, William Mount, suggested to me. So check out William Mount and Reply All. He doesn't make that one, but he suggested it.
Great. Can't have too many podcasts.
No. Podcasts are the greatest, man.
Yeah.
For real. It's one of the best things to come out of the last decade or so here.
Yeah, especially the Rad Left. I don't know if you've heard about them.
I think they're cool.
They're pretty nifty dudes.
I like the one guy's hair.
I like the other guy's hat.
Man, so I'm going to go hard and fast on this because it's a lot, and also I don't want to go on my tangents, but I know I'm going to, and I'm sorry. So go ahead and feel free. But I'm going to try and talk kind of fast because there's a lot, and we're going to try and keep it under that hour because we're trying to get better at that. Anyways, QAnon, if you don't know what it is, it's a far-right conspiracy theory alleging that a cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles running a global child sex trafficking ring is plotting against President Donald Trump, who's battling them, leading to a day of reckoning involving the mass arrests of journalists and politicians. And once again, I got this from Reply All podcasts. So this story basically all centers around a man named Frederick Brennan. He is known as the guy who started 8chan. One thing that's interesting about Frederick is he's in a wheelchair. He's got osteogenesis disease, which basically breaks your bones like Mr. Glass in Unbreakable, the M. Night Shyamalan movie.
He's got bonitis, huh?
Yeah, it's one of those things. And he'll joke a little about it, like how it's dangerous for him to make eggs and stuff or whatever. Just typical things that are easy for you and me, he cannot do. But he, basically is a self-proclaimed incel.
Wow. He just openly says that.
They're pretty proud.
It's in his his Tinder profile.
Well, yeah, they are all kind of like, I wouldn't say they're proud of it, but they all kind of accept their lot in life. The people that, and it's kind of what 2chan, 4chan. I didn't even realize there was a 2chan.
I never heard of 2chan.
There's 2chan, which started in Japan apparently, and then 4chan came from that, and then there's 8chan, which Brennan started. Frederick, we'll call him. That's his first name. You'll be hearing me reply to him as Frederick, so don't get lost. Then there's the Watkins. You'll find out about them, and they're very important in this story. But Brennan just loved message boards, and he wanted to bring his incel community together, and they all basically have sort of a nihilistic view of life where they're like, we're not ever going to get laid or ever have any kind of real life, and we're going to just be shitty and troll and, maybe shoot people here and there, whatever we decide to do, shoot ourselves, just kind of be basically what I hope my son does not become.
Yeah.
Or any of our children, really. But that's a whole other story. So after Gamergate, 4chan got a pretty bad rep, so they're looking for someone to start 8chan, and in comes Frederick Brennan. It's a huge hit, and he can't pay for it because of how powerful it got to run. It just got too big right away, and he started it. It was kind of like already a monster, which we'll see that coming. Then he meets online the Watkins, which is Ron Watkins, whose dad allegedly started 2chan, which is the original message board for the deep nerds in Japan. These guys are not Japanese, by the way. They're pretty sure they live in the Philippines, but they stole this, is what you kind of start to learn. I'm going to try not to jump around, though. So they kind of come in to Frederick, and they kind of offer him, because they have money and things, and they offer him to come stay in the Philippines with them. And, they start sort of jumping around here. Sorry. They basically offer him a life in the Philippines where they're going to help him run 8chan, and they're going to give him nursing, and they're going to give him all he needs and pay him. And he's already seeing that they're pretty weird people because he can see the videos that Ron's dad is making, which that is Jim Watkins. And Jim's this kind of just a really strange dude. If you look up anything on YouTube about Jim Watkins, you're not going to find much about Ron Watkins because he's kind of elusive. But Jim just makes these really weird videos. Basically, they think it's kind of a smokescreen, though, because underneath it all, he really likes to promote, alt-right, which is pretty big in, I guess, Japan. The alt-right movement is apparently pretty big in Philippines and Japan. Apparently, that's what I'm seeing. I didn't realize that, too. I think maybe just like the very conservative, there's a very strong streak of just
that
conservatism.
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually would call themselves the alt-right. I don't know if they even call themselves the alt-right. Do we call them the alt-right and they call themselves Proud Boys? Is that? But I don't think it's the same group, but same mindset.
No, the Proud Boys is a specific group of alt-right.
Yeah.
They're a specific militia. They're the folks that wear the Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah.
Or no, those are the Boogaloo Boys. Sorry, there's so many alt-right militias.
There's probably some version
The
Japan.
Proud Boys wear like the black shirts with the yellow.
Okay.
Outlined collars with the logo on their shirts.
Well, thank God they have uniforms though, so we can tell who the fuck.
Oh
they
yeah,
are.
yeah. These chuds they're like, oh, we're in the military. They're just LARPing.
Soon we'll be
LARPing with real guns. I guess that might not be actual LARPing, but they're LARPing as military without the training and discipline and without the, without the
integrity or what? I don't know what the fuck.
I was gonna say like without the leadership and stuff, but it's like I don't know. I don't want to praise the military, but anyway, sorry.
Soon we'll be able to put swastikas on their head with knives and be able to tell who they are because they aren't gonna be able to take them Nazi suits off. When you get home, you're going to take that suit off, ain't you? Well, we don't like that. Anyways, so he liked the idea. Frederick liked the idea of being taken care of in the Philippines. His life here wasn't great. So he decided to go and get into cahoots with the Watkins and start 8chan with them. And it starts off okay. You know, he thinks when he meets Jim at the airport, Jim's a little pervy. He starts to find out Jim actually is sort of a porno guy. He creates porn and all that.
He like films it.
Kind of a porn guy with Philippine girls and stuff. And he ends up using them for this alt-right news channel as well, which you can pull any of this stuff up and find. It's kind of entertaining.
The sex workers?
He uses some of them, I'm pretty sure, because it could be different Filipino women, but they're pretty and, I mean, you know how that shit goes.
Yeah.
But he's just a sleazeball hitting on a lot of the stewardesses and stuff and all the people that getting him. But he sort of looks past that. And then Ron Watkins shows up, and that's the son. And he's a younger, good-looking guy, more professional. And him and Frederick have a lot in common. They both have a love for message boards that borders on the obsessive. Mm-hmm. And they both really see it as a great thing going forward in the world. You know, a chance for these people who normally don't have much communication with others, being able to talk shit and be just generally horribly mean to each other.
Have you ever gotten lost in a message board website?
I used to have one to an old band I was in, but you talking like Reddit and stuff?
Like any kind of like all over the internet, there are very like hyper specific message boards for certain topics.
Yeah.
I got really big into one. It was called the Dextroverse, and it was all centered around people who like robotrip as like a more than just like. This is
you talking
silly.
about Robitussin tripping?
Robitussin tripping,
I have some stories about that.
Yes.
I've never done it, but I've been around people that have. That one I stayed away from because I'd been around people that had.
Yeah.
But there's a whole site just
there was, it got taken down. So I got real sucked into that. That was actually the center focus of my first novel was like robo-tripping.
I kind of vaguely remember you talking to me about that once.
Yeah, it's called Robo-Children, the Tussin generation.
That sounds... Generation. I think I interviewed you once.
Yeah.
No, I have not. You know, I'll tell you, I'll get on some Reddits every once in a while, and I really like to see what celebrities are assholes.
Yeah.
And I knew Ellen sucked before everyone else did. Because she's a reoccurring person that comes up. Like, Ellen won't let you look her in the eyes. Ellen slapped me in the face and kicked my baby. And I'm like, Jesus. People think she's nice, man. But, you know, every once in a while, you'll just see reoccurring people. Some are very depressing, though. You're like, no. Mike Myers? No.
Yeah, that sucks.
But I don't know.
But yeah, these message boards, man, they're addictive in their own right.
Especially when you got nothing else.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these people, like just from my experience on the Dextroverse, they were just like sad fucking loser druggies who didn't have any friends because nobody wants to be friends with a Robitussin addict. Except for all my friends, of course.
Oh, there's addicts? There's people that will do that more than once?
Totally. Yes. These people were doing it, as like a regular, it was like a spiritual thing to them. It was an intellectual, spiritual hybrid thing for them. And they fucking hated me because I wrote a book about it. And they were like, who the fuck do you think you are to define our entire movement? And I was like,
oh, it's a movement.
They thought it was. They sure thought
That's
it was.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
there were a couple celebrities on there. There was me, the dude who was on Intervention because he was a Robitussin addict who he actually did a review of my book and he just slammed it. It was really funny. We were gonna hang out one time in Philly, but he never got back to me. But
Even after he slammed your book?
yeah, yeah,
You're cool.
yeah.
That's cool of you.
Oh, dude, I love bad reviews.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Why not?
dude. I love bad reviews. It's so good.
I like that about you. So, have you ever done Robitussin?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What were your
no,
experiences?
Yes. Oh, there are so many, so many. There was about a month there where I was doing it like every day.
Is that the stuff that rappers would put in there?
Yeah, that's typically that lean. That is sometimes with like codeine and promethazine. That
okay.
kind of, it's like prescription cough medicine,
Okay.
which is different than dextromethorphan, which is the active ingredient in like Robitussin DM. And so that's a dissociative, which is in the same class of drugs as ketamine, whippets, PCP.
Whippets are, man. We used to get big tanks of nitrous oxide.
Oh, yeah?
And just sit there and
Just keep
you would
hitting
go
it, yeah.
some places.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I did ketamine once and I didn't do much. I think I
Yeah.
told you this story, but my legs just went wobbly.
Yeah.
But I knew a kid named Clay who did Robitussin, and it was the first time I'd been around someone that had done it, and it was the last time I had to take him to the hospital that night because
Yeah.
he was having fun at first, and then he started getting really weird. And then, like, I remember driving him, and he just kept looking at me. He's generally a very cool guy, play guitar, and just sort of reminds you of guitarists from Jane's Addiction. But he just lost his shit, and he just kept looking at me going, "Am I going to die?" And I was like, no,
Maybe.
of course not. I had no idea.
Maybe.
They had to do
Yeah.
the charcoal in his mouth, and
Oh, really?
it was really weird. He had to, like, puke everything up.
Yeah.
And I don't think, so our house, that skater house at the time, we had like probably a week or two where we delved into the robo tripping.
Yeah.
And then it was not super popular, did not stick for us.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. My little group of friends, we were kind of, we were super like exploratory, but not really old enough or didn't have the connections for quote unquote real drugs. So
Yeah,
that's
we-
kind of what we stuck with for a little bit. Then we graduated onto like bigger and better things like acid and mushrooms and
Which is why some drugs,
ecstasy and stuff.
maybe all drugs should be legal. Because we were huffing
Absolutely.
gasoline when we couldn't get drugs.
Oh yeah.
We used to do
Yeah.
that. And that's just stupid.
Yeah. We would resort to Duster, you know, the canned air stuff.
See,
Yeah,
you are Hunter S. Thompson. You can do it. You got a very classic.
Let's see here. Jack online, he said, at one time tried to extract DXM from cough drops using ammonia and lighter fluid in a bad home science experiment in high school. Was not a good idea. I used to do that, actually, the extraction process. That's actually why I have a gas mask. It's not for riots. It's from extracting DXM from cough syrup. We had a separatory funnel. We had it down to a science where we could get like a huge dish filled with powder, and we just scrape it off the bottom and then just put it into a giant pile of just pure DXM powder.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
Is that where
dude, we were
I'm
like
thinking
we were
DMX.
breaking bad like pretty hard.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I forgot that we had people listening. I swear to God, I totally just thought we were talking. And then I was like, oh, yeah, we're doing a podcast. And that's my wife there and old Danny. We love Danny. You're a shit, honey. You want to be our Well, can a wife be a unicorn? That doesn't make sense.
No,
That wouldn't
Danny
be
can
right.
be your unicorn.
Danny, will you be our unicorn? We need someone to start fact checking and just being the third person in here. You don't have to talk much. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. Let's get back to QAnon, everybody. This is exciting. I do like that tangent we just went on, though. That was a wonderful one.
It's as somebody who is on the outside of the main topic, I have for the first time, I have to say it's really easy to go
It
on
is.
tangents.
Oh, it is.
So I'm understanding your.
Well, yeah, we need to. I think we need it because it's you need to pull
It gets
away.
pretty heavy. Yeah,
It does, and this one's okay. So Frederick is having a good time in the Philippines. He even gets a wife. This guy in the wheelchair gets a wife, which is beautiful for him. So he's not so much of an incel. He's getting taken care of financially, and but he also starts to hate his own creation, 8chan. It's become a toxic monster, and he tries over and over again to get the Watkins to shut it down. He says he would just run 2chan for them, but they won't shut it down. It's gotten too big. And now here's the thing you got to realize about 8chan. It doesn't make any money. It actually repulses advertisers. But it has influence over a large group of people, and the Fredericks start to realize that's the true. And Fredericks starts to realize, sorry, his name is Frederick, not Fredericks. Frederick starts to realize that's the true interest for the Watkins. They want power.
influence.
Big surprise.
Yeah.
So they basically want to have the same influence over America that they have in the Philippines and stuff. And they also had it in Japan with 2chan. And there's a lot of speculation that this Jim guy stole 2chan from someone else. That's not really in the story, but it's stuff that I just didn't put that in the story. But you can look into some of that too, because that's important for what's about to come with the whole QAnon thing.
Good to know.
Yeah. So they want influence over America, and Jim Watkins basically went all mega when Trump ran, and even credits 8chan for being some of the reason Trump won. He tried to go into the Breitbart business and start a conservative right-wing news channel, but it's done very cheap and poorly, and it doesn't really catch on. And this is when he's using some of his, whom I assume to be Filipino actresses. And it is very funny if you watch some of these videos. A lot of stuff's falling down. It's very Tim and Eric, but not on purpose. It's just bad. But he's trying to, and it's really.
Good.
I mean, we aren't huge fans of the Clintons, but this stuff's ridiculous. It's like the Clintons eat babies. Just
Sure.
real out there stuff that.
Are they responsible for Pizzagate? Was that?
I don't know. They never say that, but this is definitely along the same lines. And you got to realize with 8chan and these kind of things, it isn't just QAnon that would do this. He's just the one that became most popular. But there were always people, especially since Pizzagate, that were always trying to start some sort of wacky online conspiracy theory on 8chan. That's kind of what it got known for. It was almost a joke, like who can make the weirdest thing catch on.
Yeah.
But for some reason, QAnon, something about the way that it was written initially just kind of makes you feel like it's coming from some higher military thing.
Yeah.
And these people, some of them caught on. But it's not even the original 8chan people that you got to worry about, but we'll get to that. But, sorry, like that. So anyways, yeah. So this news channel he did that he wanted to be like Breitbart is called The Goldwater, and it basically just spreads conspiracy theories against the Clintons, like they're working for ISIS and things. He had a great following of Trump-supporting young folk, but unlike the baby boomers to come, they didn't buy his weird conspiracy theory shit. So his Breitbart Goldwater tanked. Doesn't work. Not good. All right. Basically, we've talked about that. Frederick would be sitting around listening to Jim and Ron talk about how they want to get 8chan to be as powerful as 2chan was in Japan. He didn't believe it until he saw the rise of Q, whom he believes the Watkins saw the rise of and hijacked just like they did 2chan. So QAnon, it's a paranoid, violent, like it just spreads dangerous lies. I got to find this guy's name. I fucked up and I just started writing F for this guy's names. Ferber. His name's Ferber. So QAnon comes out on the 8chan boards because Frederick cannot get it taken down. They keep it going. So out of the blue, QAnon comes out on the message boards.
He tries to shut down 8chan?
He wants to destroy his own creation. Yeah, it's like a Frankenstein kind of thing.
Gotcha.
He helped create it, and he started realizing it's toxic. And you can hear interviews with him. He seems like a sweet guy. But he's like, I realize that it's just an evil place for evil people, and it's not doing anything good in the world, and I'm ashamed. He sort of feels like the guy that invented the atomic bomb, especially now because of what's happened. And that's his goal still in life, you'll see, is he's trying to make awareness of who QAnon is, but just really no one's listening, which is why I'm doing this, trying to help the fella. Because I agree with his plight. I think people need to at least weed through your goddamn conspiracy theories, guys. Like, yes, there are sex trafficking rings.
Yeah,
yes, there are some high-level ones, but I do not think...
That's the makings of a good conspiracy, or any kind of lie, Like they say that a lie is best when paired with a truth.
Yeah. You got to have a little bit of the truth in there.
Yeah. And then just their ability to anybody who criticizes QAnon, or now I guess just any conservative, that they can just label you a pedophile because you don't care about these children if you're criticizing this, as if that's what we're saying at all. You know what I mean? It's like it's so easy for people to, use circular logic.
It is. And they never point the pedophile finger at the Catholic Church. You ever notice that? And they never point it at Trump.
Were there actual proof
pedophiles.
of pedophiles? Yeah.
Satanists are
Or
nicer to children.
the Boy Scouts.
The Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
You never, and if you say that to them, their face just goes blank.
Oh,
they're not good at taking the conspiracy theory out beyond their little glass wall.
Yeah.
You got to do that.
The only pedophiles allowed are the Clintons.
Yeah. And Tom Hanks.
And Tom Hanks.
Which he's not a pedophile, damn it. There's no way.
Yeah, that would be really upsetting.
Well, that was sort of started from what I heard on a separate thing that on these boards, they were just trying to think up who would be the most ridiculous pedophile. And so they picked the nicest guy in Hollywood, the one that's the scariest to be one, because it's like,
Yeah.
oh God, if he's one, who else is one?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's this actor named something Cappy, and he sort of had a meltdown. And his stories are very strange. They're very intriguing if you watch his interviews. And he swears that Seth Green, you know, and even the robot chicken stands for chicken, which is the Pizzagate, means little boy, hot dogs, chicken, fucking whatever's. And he says Seth and his wife came out to him and admitted that they were. It's this whole thing. He goes in this rant, and then kills himself or is killed. This Cappy guy dies, which just adds to the fuel of, oh yeah, he when it came out and now they're taking, you know, so all that stuff. If you're not very strong minded and don't look into the stuff I'm telling you, you could fall for it.
Yeah.
I've fallen for some things. I'm not going to say I didn't think Pizzagate was a little weird. I'm not going to say I didn't think some of those writings that they were writing, if the Podesta stuff was true,
Yeah.
like it was weird. I got pulled in a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think 9/11 was an inside job. You know, I definitely have my conspiratorial streak. I can't say that I'm immune to that.
But we're also aware of the fact that it could totally be bullshit.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, regardless of whether 9/11 was an inside job or not, what they're telling us happened did not happen. I am 99.9% sure about that.
Same with the Kennedy assassination.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly. They either they don't know or they know and they're hiding something or you know, a little of both. But whatever the official story is, it's bullshit. So.
And the problem is all conspiracy theories are lumped together. If you believe Kennedy was Kennedy was killed by a third gunman, then they lump that under like you think lizards run the fucking planet.
Exactly.
It's like no, they're both very different.
Mm-hmm.
And so
every conspiracy can be taken on its own and analyzed on its own. Because like, do I trust the government? Fuck no, I don't.
Nope.
Absolutely. Do I think that there are really high-profile pedophiles and sex trafficking rings in the government and in high places in high society? Absolutely, I do.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And just look up the Jimmy Savile stuff for the Ninth Circle. All the stuff that he did. He was like the Dick Clark of England, and you know him. This is proven stuff that David Icke, who is kind of cuckoo. But he's the one that was talking about it for years, but then it came out all to be true. This is all documented stuff that, you know, him and this other politician used to take little kids onto a boat, fuck them, kill them, throw them over. And he did this for years. And he got to be really good friends with like the king and queen. We don't know why. Was he procuring things for them? There's that weird video of the naked boy jumping out of the fucking Buckingham, which is that real? Or, you know, all these things are like, I'm not going to say none of it is happening. But I know QAnon is fucking bullshit. Here's my main reason, because Trump is not the savior of shit.
Yeah, right. That right there.
That's where you lose me.
That's the linchpin.
That is the linchpin.
Yeah, the fact that Trump is the savior of these children.
Did you see that picture I posted? It looked like he's in like some Vietnam War. He's got two babies on each side. And you see...
who's in the background? Was that
Hillary Clinton? God, I wish we could pull that shit up. Oh, that is art. I want that on my wall. That is the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Oh, boy.
While you look for it, I'm going to go a little further in.
Yeah.
And this will be the backdrop. Okay. So there's this guy named Ferber. Okay, let's get into this Ferber dude. I can't remember his first name. Doesn't really matter. He's kind of a douchey douche.
My bad.
That's fine. Q starts making drops, which drops are these information bubbles, you know, basically, what do you call them? Threads that just kind of talk about like they're all basically around like the Clintons once again, and they're going to be, boy, it was a long time ago though. I don't know if you'll find it that way. Maybe you can type it in like Trump with babies picture or something. They all kind of are, you know, saying Hillary's going to be taken into custody tomorrow. We've got high level security. Just watch your local military because, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they use all these code words like Snow White and just, you know, which stands for Snowden, which I wanted to bring up about Snowden. It was interesting you said how everyone's getting painted as a pedophile, because I heard him on a podcast talking about that, how police now, the newest thing that's happening thanks to there's the picture. There she is.
Where'd it go?
Oh, yeah, I just saw it too.
Oh, right there.
Oh, God, it's good. Pull that little baby up. This is the kind of art. This is QAnon art. Look at the look on his face.
Yeah.
He's so scared. He's carrying them poor babies. I don't know why that picture just is the best. It reminds me of those pictures back when, or like those movies when they talked about reefer madness or something. Just
Yeah.
people are gonna look at this. I want that picture,
Yeah. I want like a full scale poster of it.
please. I gotta paint that. Anyways, the cops now will have ways they can very easily put child porn on your phone. Apparently, is what Snowden talked about, and
Really?
Snowden knows he's a very big whistleblower, as you know.
Yeah.
And it's scary stuff that's coming, all because of things we've let slip through the Patriot Act and things that have. So soon, if you know,
So it's like the modern day like putting cocaine or putting crack
yeah,
on somebody.
yeah, or calling someone a commie, the Red Scare, of the getting
Just
them
accusing,
blacklisted.
yeah.
So it could happen to celebrities. It could happen to you for protesting. And cops will get this technology. Apparently, they're getting this technology to be able to do that to people. So then they could just call you a pedophile and you'll be. So, but I think what's going to happen is enough.
Well, sure. We saw that. What the guy that was trying to disarm Rittenhouse with the skateboard.
Yeah.
Everybody jumped on the bandwagon of him being a pedophile.
Yep, that's the new thing.
And it was because I looked into it more, and he got like I forget what the official charge is, but he was 17 and his girlfriend was 16 or something like that. It was like they were within normal dating range, and her parents got mad and pressed charges or something.
Oh, Jesus.
Just something dumb that could happen to anyone.
So he
of us.
showed up as being like a sex offender in some area.
Right,
probably.
like
That sucks.
yeah, and it's like I have a friend who that happened to, and I have another friend who just had a video camera, and he wasn't one of my buddies, but he's another kid in the school, was the same age as us. He went streaking, and my friend got it on film, and he got like a child pornography like, charge. The charges got dropped and everything, but I mean, they
It
still
stays on your record.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they want to look you up.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But I have a feeling which is actually bad. This is actually going to be a really bad side effect. But I have a feeling being called a child predator is not going to have the same sting once this goes through.
Right.
Because when they call
They're
it
muddying the waters.
Exactly. So then the real child predators are going to be normalized to a degree and get away with what they want. Just like kind of what's happening with being called a racist right now. I feel like it's being overused.
On the other side?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Maybe not overused because there are a lot of fucking racists.
There are a lot of racists.
I know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's really hard to...
I think most people that are there's levels of racism.
Absolutely.
But a lot of the regular privileged white people don't realize they're racist. Like we already talked about that. The cognitive, we all have some bias. We all do. All sides of the coin.
Yeah. We've talked about it a couple times here, and this is like not an official like breakdown or anything, but from my understanding of like leftist talking points and whatnot, is like there's layers of racism. There's like the bias, which is just like I would say it's just like accidental things, like you lock your doors if a black person walks by your car. Just like these things you're not really thinking about. You don't go to a certain gas station because you see that the clientele is primarily African American, or or whatever. It doesn't have to just be against black people. It can be a lot of cholos or whatever. And then there's the bigoted, which is where you're like actively like saying things that are just really bad. I like saying or doing things that are actively racist.
Yeah.
And then there's racism, which I tend to think is like and I think this is like an umbrella term because it does include the other two items, but is more of like a systemic thing.
Yeah.
It's more of like a lot of us are racist because of our upbringing, because of history, like manufactured history.
Yeah.
And because we have to continue the system of racism to maintain the power structures that are currently
Agreed.
in power.
And I always find that to be so interesting because, we better hope that society created racism because if it's inherent in humans, we're fucked. But
I don't
it's like,
think it is.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And I got into a big debate with someone who actually got mad at me about that because I think that I was saying I think it's a choice because you better hope it's a choice because if it's not a choice, you're fucking stuck with it.
Yeah.
But I believe we can overcome racism. And I think it's unfortunately the same result though, whether it was systemic or comes from like our fucking nature. people buy into it, so it doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
like there are people that, just weak-minded people, which brings us back to QAnon. I got to stay on track.
Yeah.
Paul Ferber. Let's talk about Paul Ferber. Okay. He's got a message board. QAnon first pops up on Paul Ferber's message board in 8chan. Okay. This is important. And so...
What's the overall topic of his message board? Is it just his name?
I don't know what he's always usually posting.
Yeah.
But it's just QAnon starts showing up on his thing. And
Okay.
I get that's a good question. I don't have that information.
It probably doesn't really matter all that much.
It might,
probably
though.
some racist bullshit.
Probably.
Yeah.
But a lot, like once we said, as we said before, a lot of weird conspiracy theories are going around. So it's not that weird to see this Q thing pop up first. And this is in the early days. Actually, it started on.
Do we have a time frame for this? Do you know?
Yeah,
like,
this is around
what year?
2016.
Okay. Oh wow, so this goes back pretty much to the beginning of his presidency. Then.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, then,
I didn't hear about this until
we're kind of going
about
back
last year. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, it's been around,
Or maybe
and like
even
like
earlier this year.
I think it actually 4chan is where Paul Ferber starts, and then it jumps over to 8chan. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
That's what happened, but doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You'll see how the progression happens. But it's just a bunch of things. They call them information drops, and like I said, it's Hillary Clinton. A lot of stuff about the Clintons, and so yeah, it was when Trump was. It kind of did help push Trump to some of these people to be more Trumpy, and it makes. And at first, people think just it's another stupid conspiracy theory thing, and they're not thinking much of it.
Yeah.
But they notice over like the next 8 drops of information, more and more people are starting to pay attention. And I do remember this happening because I had a friend who I used to think was very smart.
Yeah.
And not to be mean, because like I said, I thought the Pizzagate stuff was a little odd myself, and we've seen that to be pretty ridiculous. But, people don't know what the fuck's going on, and people want answers. So,
Yeah.
and I'm prone to conspiracy theories. But I also realize I could be full of shit, which is very important. You got to think for yourself, too.
Yeah.
It's the most important thing. I think it's the main point of this whole podcast is
Yeah.
to tell people to think for themselves.
Not only just think for yourself, because that sounds like you're separating yourself
Right.
from fact. Like you
Right.
so I have this desired outcome, so I'm going to make it fit.
Right.
By justifying it. Don't just think for yourself. Research for yourself. For the love of fuck, use goddamn reliable sources.
Don't be like
As a journalist
yeah.
who's not kidding themselves about the reality of objectivity, that's impossible. But still, for the love of God, the second you start looking into some of these things, you'll find holes all over the place.
Try and get some compassion for all viewpoints, even if you don't like that viewpoint.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. I talk with libs and conservatives all the time because I want to hear what they've got going on. You know what I mean? Like you can't just close yourself off in your own little 8chan world and start making up.
Exactly, because that's how this shit happens. Because
Yeah.
then it becomes a fucking echo chamber, and anyone that tries to come in is just treated like, and then you become a fucking militarized. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So this Paul Ferber guy, these Q drops start happening. They aren't taken seriously at first, and then they start getting taken kind of seriously, and they're all basically just the Clintons are going to be taken away. It's kind of piggybacking the Pizzagate stuff and going through that. And I remember seeing people on Facebook that were posting about it, and that's when I first heard of Q. And I looked into it, about as far as to where I saw Trump's the savior, and I was like, I'm done. And I know some very should be intellectual people that are still pushing this stuff. Like one is a lady I know, and she's one of my Facebook friends, and she can listen, but it's Dwight D. Eisenhower's granddaughter, Laura Eisenhower, and she pushes this shit all the time, and she has quite a following. And I just want to say to you, Laura, as much as I read some of your spiritual New Agey stuff, and I don't think it's the worst thing to post, you really got to stop backing Trump, man. You were backing the wrong horse there, kid.
Jesus.
For someone who is the granddaughter of, I think, a good president. I don't know.
As far as
he came out, he had that speech against the military-industrial complex, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he did some stuff. I'm always reluctant to say a good president.
He started the Majestic 12 that, there's no such thing as a good president. He started the Majestic 12 that met with the aliens in the 50s. Remember that whole?
That's true. Yes. That's a true
fun one.
conspiracy theory.
That's a real fun one. Okay, I'm going.
Just got to get an alien reference in every episode.
We have to.
Yeah.
They're coming. One day we'll do a whole show. We're just going to turn this into a paranormal podcast once they arrive.
Yeah.
And be like, we're just leading up. This is just the origin story.
Yeah, that'll be after they lobotomize me and like chemically lobotomize me. After they black bag me for a bit, I'll come back like.
You are going to get black bagged.
I know I am. I know. I'm just waiting.
I don't want that to happen to you. That'd be sad.
So
Q comes out of nowhere, starts influencing people with its unraveling of a mystery type info dumps that put Trump as some sort of savior against the pedo elite. and this is where I wrote into my notes to tell people that I believe there are such a thing as sex trafficking cults at high levels. I believe it's a big deal, but I don't think Tom Hanks is a pedo, and we already talked about that. So Q isn't taken super serious at first. In fact, there are lots of people coming out with weird LARPing type conspiracy theories. There were many anons going on. It was almost for fun. After about 10 to 15 posts, the Pizzagate type Q posts start to excite the wolves on the board. People start to get into it after about a month. It started on 4chan, but 8chan is where it became huge. He only posted on a certain message board owned by a guy named Paul Ferber, who's an artist-musician type dude that Frederick thinks was actually the first Q. It was supposed to be that everyone had equal levels to Q and access to him, but people started to hate Ferber that he had such access. Like Paul would write things like, oh yeah, had an intimate conversation off the boards with Q today, and it was very weird stuff. So we're thinking what happened was, since these chans are basically run anonymously, this guy started to want some credit. Yeah. So he kind of created a side, well, he created himself in the story, sort of like when Stephen King wrote himself into the stand, into his son's stories, which was fine in the book, The Dark Tower. I think it's actually pretty good. Some people did not like that, but I thought it was kind of cool how he wrote him in. But also, it's like he wanted to take. We think he's Q. We think it's, but there's no way to prove any of these things because they're all anonymous. Yeah. But the reason that Frederick has such an insight is he wrote the script for these things, so he can see things on the back end that other people can't see. So he has a little more insight on it, and he's spending pretty much his whole life trying to uncover this. But by the end of this, I think you'll agree, pretty sure it's the fucking Watkins behind all this. But we'll get there. So Ferber, we think he might create Q. There's all these dumps happening. People start getting kind of jealous because it's like, nobody really wants Q to be unmasked, I don't think, and nobody really wants anyone to take credit for it because Q's become everyone's baby. It's sort of like, I used to wear this robot suit to promote my band at Comfest and shit, and I'm not kidding you. When I walked around with that thing, I felt like Michael Jackson, and pretty girls would be coming up with their shirts off and hugging me, and it was like, it made my girlfriend at the time crazy jealous, but I didn't care. I even had a little hole down here so girls could reach in and grab my junk. I'm sorry. That's not great for this time and day. Don't cancel me. We're not popular enough to get canceled, but it's just the truth.
You're not forcing yourself on them.
No,
if anything, it's
I gave them the option to reach in there.
Hey, you have my consent.
Right.
You can grab my junk. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I never got a drunken hand job, sadly. Wanted one because, gosh, some of those girls were really attractive, and they were very excited to see a robot, and it was really hot in that suit, and I needed some sort of release.
Yeah.
But either way, my point is, everyone would be, I'm not kidding you, there'd be lines of people standing there. I felt like what it was like to probably be a celebrity trying to go through somewhere.
Yeah.
And then the moment I would take that head off, nobody. The moment they saw the person, it'd be like, and I realized at that time either I'm extremely ugly or people don't really like to know what's going on. Yeah. People like the story behind the story, or they don't like the story behind it. Yeah. They like to see what they want to see. Yeah.
They don't want to see the man behind the curtain. It's like when Kiss went without makeup.
Exactly.
Or Slipknot took their masks off. It's like, fuck off with your shit.
Exactly.
You just look like a bunch of rednecks. Fuck off.
Like, would Daft Punk be popular if they didn't have the robot heads? Fuck no, they wouldn't.
No, that would be extremely disappointing if they ever...
Really. They shouldn't.
If they ever unhelmeted.
They made it really far with those things.
They did, yeah. Yeah.
So this guy Ferber is basically making himself out to be Q's best buddy. He's starting to people are getting jealous. People don't like Ferber, and he's starting to be hated. And we think he came out to kind of get credit. He wanted to be kind of like, look, I'm Q, wink, wink. It was on my message board, but I'm not Q. But he knows too much. So he ends up going on InfoWars. It is Alex Jones' show, but he's not the host of this particular show. I don't know why. And this is the big, nail in the coffin, whatever, for Ferber, because he comes out and he does this big thing about Q, and he kind of postulates himself as being the hero of it all or whatever, and everybody instantly hates him and turns against him. And another thing happens from him being on InfoWars, though. He's reached a whole new audience, which is why we've heard of QAnon, or he reaches the baby boomers. Dun, dun, dun. We need to start getting sound effects. Dun, dun, dun. Some podcasts have those. Maybe we should get some of those.
Fnap, fnap, fnap.
I've seen them, and it's not cool. I'm not sure what she's...
Talking about Daft Punk.
Oh, okay. Oh, you've seen them without their masks on, honey. That's scary. I'm sorry. Curiosity killed this cat. So anyways, yeah. Baby boomers, sorry. they don't think for themselves very well. They're very angry. Their brains, I just don't think they're used to technology or seeing things and being like, that's a lie.
Yeah.
They can't discern truth and fiction very well.
I mean, the amount of like adware and malware,
Yep.
spyware that I have to remove off of my mom's computer every single time I go over there. And the only thing she does, she's not going into deep
Yep.
message board bullshits. She's just going to websites that have like games that she can play with, like people, you know, like
Yep.
poker games and stuff. And
Yep.
she's just clicking on all the ads.
Yep.
On her phone, she's got like 1,000 tabs open because there's
Yep.
just pop-ups everywhere. I'm like, how do you even get pop-ups on your phone? Like, it's
And to be
unbelievable.
fair, my kid can already run computers and shit way better than he's yelling at me constantly when I try to help him.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
even know why he asked for my help. I can't help him with his shit. He's way advanced.
Yeah,
But-
when I was in Colorado, you know, I was helping my buddy with his kids, and they put a switch in my hand, and I was like, I don't know what to do with this thing, you know. And he's sitting there like pushing all the buttons and selecting all the options for me, and I'm like, whoa, this is weird, you know. This kid's like a third my age, like my God.
Just wait till the VR helmets start happening even more.
Oh yeah,
It's going to be neat.
yeah.
One day we'll have to do an episode on the future of robotics and virtual reality and where all that's going. If
Yeah.
we can tie it in politically, which I'm sure we'll be able to.
Everything's political.
Everything's political, sadly, but it's just a dimension of life. Okay, so QAnon. And the thing that's dangerous about QAnon is there have been violent outbreaks. There was a guy that held up a bridge in the name of QAnon and shot a few people. There's been
Really?
there's been 3 or 4. I didn't have them all completely cited, but there's been 3 or 4 already violent things happening in the name of QAnon. And there's going to probably be more because when you listen to this podcast, Reply All, they have so many like snippets of people talking about QAnon and just like so sure of like, and then trying to it's like a fun little mystery. It's like the baby boomer Harry Potter kind of thing. It's like, because they can't, you know, they're saying like, well, when they say it's Snow White, they're talking about Snowden, and when they're saying this, it means that, and they're very excited by the code words, and they love. It's like they're unraveling a mystery, and it makes them feel like they're part of it because they
Yeah.
feel helpless in their own lives, and they are, and we are, and I understand the need for some sort of feeling of control, but you're barking up the wrong tree, guys, and you're causing some problems here. So Frederick is realizing more and more as he's watching all this unfold. So this Ferber guy, he's getting hated on InfoWars. InfoWars did 2 things. It knocked Ferber down away. Everyone kind of, even Q himself, stepped away from Ferber, which we're thinking this is the moment that the Watkins stole Q, okay? Because Q started from Ferber, and then after he went on InfoWars, everyone hated Ferber. And then Q started making other posts, which, mind you, anybody could do, and most people do. Many people have posted as Q, but we're
Sure.
tracking the most influential ones that stick.
Yeah.
And it's gone from this Ferber guy to now the Watkins message board. Q shows up, and Frederick is trying to get to talking to Q, and basically he's saying like, so why is, you know, Q on your board? And Frederick was being very cagey Watkins is being very cagey with Frederick and just making up a bunch of bullshit and saying they're doing a documentary about him. All stuff that could come out to be true, but it seems highly unlikely and weird for a guy who lies so much and is so wacky and just has had a real history of being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
We're pretty sure that he just took over Q, and the writing's different. It's not the same person. But unfortunately, since the InfoWars thing and getting to all the baby boomers, Q has taken on a whole new life, and now Q is showing up at Trump rallies, at parades. Your mom and your dad. It's breaking up families. There's families now. I've read articles about like, how do you handle your family now that they believe in the QAnon conspiracy?
Oh, yeah.
It's a thing. It's
Yeah.
like people.
Who's
you
that?
know,
There was a police chief that had the Q cup in the background on his like Zoom
Yeah.
call when he's like addressing like a national news
Yeah.
channel.
Eric Trump has winked at the Q thing, and he's done to Trump's are definitely using it to their advantage. Trump
Oh.
loves the idea,
Oh, of course.
He couldn't have thought of it himself, but he loves it that it's happening. So it's a dangerous thing, and so this is getting near the end here, but so Frederick is very upset, and he starts basically calling out Watkins after his research, because he can see, and there's a lot of stupid shit that happens, like Q gets knocked off. Oh, well, there is a killing that happens, and the Q gets knocked off the board and then comes back but they don't do anything to kind of dissuade the violence that's building behind all this, and they're not doing anything to dissuade it, and it's just going to get worse, probably right in line with the Civil War that we're talking about. So Frederick basically calls out the Watkins and basically tries to unmask him as Q, and Watkins doesn't like that. And Watkins, being the piece of shit he is, tries to jail Frederick, the guy in the wheelchair that has the osteoporosis kind of stuff. And
so Frederick is still in the Philippines.
he's still in the Philippines,
Okay.
but he's now going to hastily leave very quickly because he loves his life in the Philippines. He has a wife he's taken care of, but he takes it on himself to call out. I don't know if he's still living with the Watkins, though. That wouldn't seem to make a lot of sense. But I
Yeah.
think he's more with his wife now or something. But he has to leave. He has to come back to America, and he hates it here. Now he lives in, like, I think some shitty part of New Jersey or something.
Well, that's why he hates it here.
Yeah, it could be. That could be why.
Wow.
I can't exactly remember
There's
where he
plenty
lives.
of reasons, but
There's plenty of reasons.
New
now.
Jersey is probably close to the top of that.
He'll admit it, but he's poor now. He's not being taken care of very well. But he had to, because if he would have gone to jail, because the Watkins had a lot of power in the Philippines, he would have probably died there. They're not going
Yeah.
to take care of him for his
Right.
specific needs. So now it's pretty much Frederick Brennan's whole life to warn people about Watkins and tell them about the origin of Q and how it's all just the man behind the mask is just this. He's not special. He's ordinary.
Yeah.
They're just more people that want power. They want influence. They have nothing in particular interesting to say. They're not even very good writers. We're not sure they're the ones actually writing the Q drops, but we're pretty sure they're behind it all. And there's a lot of things that aren't verified, and all this could not be true because we have no proof for any of it, sadly. And we're just going to say that. But if you look at all the pieces of this puzzle, if you want to put together puzzles, guys, put together the puzzle of who the fuck Q is, and it's not a military agent. It's not someone that knows more than we do. Trump
Yeah.
is not a savior. Tom Hanks is not a pedophile. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria! Ghostbusters reference.